So, I've worked retail and food service, and in both positions, I've come to learn that people just like bullying service workers. It's job hunting season, so what? Run it back. It's job hunting season, so what's a better way to kick off the ever-stressful process than with a little mocha-style story time? So, I worked retail for 3 months, and food service for a year and 6 months total, and honestly, I preferred food service, man.
You need to leave!
It was more fun, there were more things to do, and the people were usually just older Hispanic guys who wanted something to eat before and after work. For my first food service job, which you can technically call a food service job because I basically did food service, I worked at Chuck E. Cheese's. That's a whole another video in itself. And my second and most recent food service job was at Waba Grill, flame broiler's cooler, tastier younger brother with tats and a Harley. I had very few bad experiences at either of these jobs, minus the Chuck E. Cheese's incident. But overall, both of my experiences were very pleasant. Honestly, looking back, I have very few things to complain about. And that's probably thanks to a few factors. I worked in a place that got very little traffic. I brought earbuds to listen to music so I wouldn't die of boredom. And I genuinely love serving others. Food service brought me the most joy because it was fun, hands-on, and straight to the point. Customer wanted, customer got. And man, do I love to provide. Now, there were a few instances where people got rowdy or I misheard an order, but it was never completely out of my ballpark. I just readjusted and accommodated them accordingly. But there was this one time. This one time. It was a Tuesday night, about 7:34 p.m. We were closing in 2 hours. I'm standing around kind of mindless, just finished a phone order. My coworker and manager Alberto is on the phone with his girlfriend, and for context, our vibes were really, kind of like cool Mexican dad and the weirdo black kid he adopted. And I loved working with him. We had a mutual agreement. He handled all the difficult customers if I learned Spanish to take orders. Little did he know, I was already well versed in what I call food service Spanish from my Chuck E. Cheese job. So yeah, back to the story. It's late and we aren't expecting anyone but our usual late-nighters. I'm about to go to the restroom to tinkle when I see a pair of white vans pull up. Big white vans. I mean, like they're fairly sized. Keep the fairly sized part in mind. First thought, we finna get robbed. I motion to Alberto, who's equally confused. They're not coming in here, are they? He shrugs. I don't know, just stay at the front. I agree. I'm standing there, just in case the people inside are hungry customers and not a bunch of giant guys in ski masks. I wait, and the vans just sit there. And by this point, I'm thinking maybe they're just taking a break. They're a crew of guys who deliver stuff, and they're like, hey, let's take a pit stop here and just sit down and play Pokemon Go on our phones. I don't know. But no! One woman steps out in the default soccer mom skin, and then another. And after that, I knew I was cooked. Oh no. A volleyball team. Like nematodes, a swarm of sweaty, ravenous teenage girls bust out of those vans like beasts. And my heart sinks. They fill the dining space to capacity. We close in 2 hours. We still have to clean. There are 35 girls, not counting the 5 adults. I look at Alberto, he looks at me, and we lock the freak in. I'm irritated and tired, but I'm not gonna deny these girls service, because All Might wouldn't. And in turn, Jesus wouldn't. Even if I wanted to tweak out right there, bang my head on the counter and pull my hair out Ace Attorney style, these girls were hungry and had just finished a game. So I put on my customer service voice. Hi, welcome to Waba Girl, how may I help you? And the women and the girls were so sweet. But I still have to pee. They smiled at me, as tired as they were, and the adults told the girls to line up in order. They were militant but goofy, probably the fastest and most coherent order delivery I've ever experienced. I became a speed demon. Orders in, everything correct. I repeated orders back twice, just to make sure. As someone who's fairly introverted, I think I handled that really well. But I still have to pee. The adults were last to order, and when I rang them up and saw the price, $550, 36 cents. We'll just hike it up to $5.51 at this point. The way I gasped, I looked at them stunned. I wanted to make sure I didn't get anything wrong. I didn't add something more than 5 times at least, and they just laughed. Ha ha ha, you little broke child. We can afford it. Don't worry, it's the school's funding anyway. And they paid. And Alberto and I got to work. Order for order, I called them out. He cooked, I packaged and plated. The room was loud, but I was locked in, bro. I've never been so locked in my working career, minus that one time we got like an order from a football team. Jesus. Oh my God, that was worse. I should have told that story. But yeah, I've never been so locked in. I didn't want to mess anything up because first, teenagers scare me. And second, teenagers scare me. And we got all the orders out by at least 8:34. Then I finally got to pee. As soon as I'm heading to the restroom, however, the phone rings. I look back at Alberto. He gives me the knowing smile, picks up the phone, and takes the order. I say, "Thank God." Eventually, the girls finish eating and head out. They left a bit of a mess, but they dropped a crispy $5 bill in the tip jar, so, always worth it. And Alberto even let me have it for my hard work. My good hard work. I never wanted to do anything like that again. So yeah, food service was cool. Stressful, but the kind of fun stress. The one that gives you an adrenaline high. But retail? Especially where I worked? God, it was hell. So Ari worked. God, I suck. So I worked at a little boutique, fairly popular in LA, this location being in a mall. My older sister and I were both working there at the same time, and she got the job first. And once they heard about me, it wasn't long before they welcomed me onto the team. I was pretty excited because this was my first job, and it was fairly close to where I lived, so I was all in. I got to see pretty ladies all day, help women look for clothes, and have professional girls talk about fashion. Right? Right? Wrong. Very wrong. Only wrong. This job was boring. And what's worse,
I was never on call with my sister. Granted, we would have been giggling and attached at the hip. But come on. What's the point of working with someone that you love if you only get to see them once out of your whole working career at that job?
And we always got the night shift. 2 girls who they knew didn't have cars were put on night shift. Night shift! All we did was fix hangers and clean out dressing rooms and fold things. And I know, granted, that's a lot of retail jobs with clothes and things, but there was no middle point. There was no in-between of any kind of new task. It was monotony. It was insanity. I was going insane. I expected most of these things going in, but that being all that we did was the caveat. The management was catty, the girls were out for themselves, and the people were rude. One thing about me is I'm pretty sensitive, but I don't take everything to offense. I know the difference between being ridiculed and criticism, hate and opinions. Okay, so there was this one time, our last day working there actually, I'll get to that, we were picking music for the shop because management allowed us to have a Spotify playlist. The assistant manager asked everyone to add songs, but was pretty hesitant in letting me and my sister add our songs. Strike 1. She let us see the terminal, but as she stepped back, she whispered to another coworker and they started giggling. Strike 2. Then while waiting for our songs the whole shift, one of our songs come up, which happened to be my sister's. Then the assistant manager runs up from a customer, mind you. She runs up from talking to a customer to the terminal and skips it. Then when mine plays 5 songs after, boom, she skips it again. Strike 3. My sister and I look at each other with what only can be described as the most black expression. We speak no words, but we know what we say. Later, as we're closing, my sister tells the cool, awesome, sweet manager who replaced the meanie head one that she will not be coming back to work tomorrow. My sister had her own things going on with the company, but I needed this job. I never said I was leaving. But somehow, they fired me, I think.
I don't know what happened, but I got my last $72 and they never called to confirm or anything. Oh, I almost forgot. Our first month there. The checks were late by a month and 4 weeks, basically 2 months. I didn't get paid the whole first month and some change. That's legal, right? Someone tell me, is it illegal or is it legal? I don't know what's going on.
That's not it either. They didn't let us work register. So we were doing all of this dumb stuff, the regular things, with retail work. You fold up the clothes, you make sure everything looks neat. Duh, I get that. But we were a small store with 1 billion girls, and you don't need 1 billion girls for this small baby store, bro. We were only on the floor. And in being on the floor, we didn't do anything. It was monotonous. My sister, who has ADHD, was dying. It was hell for her. There was nothing to do. Me, I could take it. I would just come up with lore in my head and design characters and imagine them in the clothes in the store. So I was good. I could take it maybe another 6 months. But her, she was losing it. After that, she went on into pest control and loved her life, killing bugs and stomping out gophers. But me, I was jobless. And for a while, and in college. F retail, man.